All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It's my honor to first introduce you to Adam Siegel, who is the Vice President of Sustainability and Retail Operations, leads RILA's sustainability offerings, directing both RILA's Retail Sustainability Initiative and the Retail Sustainability Conference, while also leading a number of other operational activities for the association. An engineer with an MBA from MIT Sloan School of Management, Siegel has consulted for numerous companies, including Staples, IBM, and Seventh Generation, as well as for leaders in the transportation and energy sectors. He has experience with the Environmental Defense Fund's Corporate Partnership Program, where he worked with the private equity firm KKR and their portfolio companies. All right, Adam, I'm going to hand these controls over to you, and you can take it away.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin, and so glad to see that this community is getting together and focusing on the sustainability issues that are most relevant to you all. When I was told about this presentation opportunity, it was suggested that I specifically talk about how retailers are communicating sustainability, and so that's the main thrust of my presentation here. But of course, there's a lot more going on beyond just communicating sustainability. And so if anyone ever wants to know more about what retailers are doing in other aspects of sustainability, whether it's developing out their programs, setting strategies, working with the core of their business, et cetera, I'd be more than happy to talk about that as well. And again, like Caitlin mentioned, feel free to answer or to ask questions throughout, and I'll try to answer them. Let's see if, am I in control? I don't think I'm in control. Oh, there we go. So what do we have to discuss today? First, I'll tell you who we are, RILA as an association, then specifically discuss how retailers are communicating their sustainability programs, and then a little bit about other collaborations that we've seen that, frankly, I learn from and RILA learns from, but also I think organizations like you all can as well. RILA is a trade association. We're an industry group, and we tend to represent the largest retail brands in the U.S. We have a number of functional areas, including government relations, which advocates on behalf of our members' interests, and that's why we're based here in DC. And then we have a group that focuses on a range of retail operational issues and legal issues, and that's actually where sustainability sits. So we've been around, the sustainability role in particular has been around for about 7 years now, and it was developed because some of our members came to us and said that they specifically want RILA to focus on sustainability. So we've had this role for about 7 years. We have an annual retail sustainability conference, and this year is our 7th year of that. So we've developed a very strong community of retail practitioners that are focusing on sustainability, and at this point, I think have a pretty good sense of where the industry is and where the industry is going. Within RILA, I lead the part of the organization called the Retail Sustainability Initiative. There's generally 4 functions for that. First, we just help connect. I think there's a lot of value in having peers get to know each other so that you can learn from each other, network, and share practices. We highlight best practices, and we do that in both formal and informal ways. Formally through developing research reports, and you can go to retailsustainability.com to see our latest report, and also informally on conference calls, white papers, webinars, etc. We match industry needs to resources that are out there, and we also communicate what the industry is doing and advocate on behalf of the industry. Retailers care about sustainability, and increasingly so, because of what I've seen to be 4 main reasons. One, a number of stakeholders that we care about within the industry care about sustainability themselves, whether it's our own investors, communities, activist groups, consumers, of course, front and center for retail. Each one of those is talking more and more about the need for sustainability, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail soon. There's opportunities for production, of course, brand enhancement, identifying new revenue opportunities or markets or product categories or consumer segments, and the most broad reason is about ensuring the supply resiliency for the long term. We need to be able to have access to agricultural products and wood products and whatever else over the long term to be able to support our business models. So when it comes to communicating sustainability, I asked a number of retailers how they think about what to communicate, when to communicate, and with whom to communicate. And generally, this arithmetic is what came out of those conversations. So the first question you need to ask is, which stakeholders matter to you and what matters to them? Then there's an opportunity to reflect on your own business, your culture, your own customers. What's material to you? What's important to you? When you add those two things up, you can define a definition for sustainability that's relevant to you and your stakeholders, and only after you've done that can you develop a specific message, a tailored message to the right audiences, and determine what channels you want to use to communicate. So I'll go through each one of these one by one. First, which stakeholders matter to you? I mentioned that more and more often now we're seeing stakeholders talk about sustainability. So the first question, what stakeholders matter to you? For retail, it could be investors, employees, customers, suppliers, regulators, communities, activist groups. Now, there's a range of stakeholders that influence the success of a retail business, and you need to be able to look through them and figure out which ones are most important to you. Now, what might be obvious to some of you on the line, but is not necessarily obvious in the broader world of sustainability, is that not all of these stakeholders are using the terminology that we use. They're not all talking about sustainability. And so we need to figure out what they are talking about that relates to how we're defining sustainability. So it could be that consumers are looking for healthier products. It could be that regulators are regulating a particular issue. Maybe community members are worried about developing new stores. And so each one of these might have a sustainability component embedded in them. You can't necessarily look at online comments or reviews and expect you're going to be using the terminology of sustainability. Of course, people are already talking. I just pulled a few examples. There's probably plenty more, and I'm sure each one of you who has your own business knows much better where to go to see the activity that's already going on. Change.org, just one example of a place where community groups or activists can go to make their voices heard. And if you just search for retail or a particular company or a particular issue, I'm sure you'll find many, many people already talking about it. If you go to companies' Facebook pages or Twitter feeds, you'll also see a lot of this. And I think it's just really interesting to sift through some of it and see how people are already talking about the issues that you're going to be working on. Another more formal way is through shareholder resolutions. There's a number of groups who have been targeted for shareholder resolutions. I just posted a list from Ceres. It's a much bigger list than this. Ceres is a great organization that takes all of the environmental, social, and governance shareholder resolutions and compiles them all in one place so you can easily sift through them. And I think you'll find that a number of them are targeting companies that are relevant to your space. And these comments can be positive and negative, and I think it's important to see both. The one example from Costco at the bottom was with regard to Memorial Day. on their Facebook page. Thank you, Costco, for having so much class and closing on the holidays. Your company is definitely a class act. You know, people are proud of companies that are doing the right thing, and I think you can go out and find some of those examples that are relevant for you. So every stakeholder requires different things. Of course, for each one of your businesses, you can refine this even farther still. For retailers, there's two different types of employees. There's the store employees and the headquarters employees. They have really different interests and needs, and so you have to be able to figure out what makes sense to them. Investors, whether they're private equity firms or if you're a public company, the breadth of investors associated with that, you know, they're looking for hard data, metrics, risk management opportunities, disclosures and formal reporting mechanisms like the CDP. Consumers are really interested in what's personally relevant to them, not about global issues or preventing water use somewhere far away, but what can they do to be more healthy in their own lives, for their children, families, pets, and then community and activist groups, again, in kind of a range of issues, and you need to figure out which ones are most relevant to you and to those communities that you serve. So the second question becomes, what's material to you? Your own business, your culture. For retailers, there tends to be a common set of issues. For one, it relates to their physical assets, stores and distribution centers, and potentially trucking fleets if they own them. So that's energy, fuel, water, waste, wastewater, recycling, etc. But then also to their product and their supply chains, which have the biggest environmental impact from a retailer if you think about it in the most broad sense. And so the types of questions that you would want to answer there is, what's in the product, where does it come from, and how is it made? And then the final set of issues that should be most material to you is about who you want to be engaging. So if you add up all of those, what matters to your stakeholders, what matters to you, you can define sustainability in a way that's relevant to you, your company, and the people you care about. A great example that I've seen is laying out all of the issues on a matrix like this. This is just one example from one company that I found online. A number of companies have done similar things, so you can put together a landscape of all of the issues. And what you'll find is that some issues are of minor importance or impact on your company and minor or lower importance to your stakeholders. And that's in the lower left-hand corner in this graphic, versus the opposite corner in the upper right. Those are the issues that are important to you and important to your stakeholders. That doesn't mean that you should or should not focus on any of these. It just means when you're talking about how you communicate sustainability, you need to prioritize those that are in the upper right. So then you can pick the message and medium that you want to communicate in. It might be formal communications like CSR sustainability reports or web content. It might be informal communications like social media or intranet sites, forums, etc. There's a variety of ways to talk with each of these stakeholders, and you need to figure out what's most relevant to you. So I have a few examples. Number of retailers now are developing sustainability reports or CSR reports that they put out once a year or once every other year, or websites that have the same or similar content and can be updated more frequently. In stores, we're seeing signage in aisles, on walls, on product labels. Some examples are more interactive. This is from a company called Icebreaker. Every single product has a different tracer code once you open this up, and you can go online and put the code in to learn more about where the product came from, the farm that produced the wool, There's videos, you can interact with the farmer and the family, etc. Just is a much more engaging experience. Again, some more examples on product labels and advertising. And then some of them have particular purposes, of course, as well. The one organization, Worldwise, who I think is a member of this coalition, directly interacts with some retailers to take back valuable material and turn it into products that it can then sell. Coke, IKEA, and a number of other companies have product take-back opportunities so that not only can they engage the consumer and communicate in that way, but they can also bring the consumer back and tout a sustainability story. And one final thing to note that I think is especially relevant since this organization came together recently is that there's a lot of great work already being done in other coalitions. There's a variety of them. We did this landscape a couple of years ago, and I think even more have formed since. And I think it's probably worth even adding another column to this now that the pet industry has come together. It's so important for organizations that have similar interests and similar stakes in the sustainability game to come together, figure out not only what they can be doing individually, but collective opportunities. I think there are so many organizations that have come together because they've just recognized that there's a need in each of their respective sectors for it. Some focus more on social issues. Those are the ones listed towards the top. Others focus more on environmental issues. Those tend to be listed at the bottom. And then the ones in the middle have kind of a hybrid approach where they tend to focus on both. Of course, this is just kind of a rough illustration and probably worth a refresh now since some of the scopes of some of these organizations have continued to change over time. So if you have any thoughts or questions or want any suggestions or are interested in learning where retailers are in different areas of sustainability, feel free to reach out to me anytime. My email address is up there, or you can go and see some more of our work at rila.org/sustainability. We also have our annual conference coming up at the end of September, and that's really the best way to get to see a very broad group of retailers and understand where their sustainability efforts are. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Caitlin.
All right, thanks, Adam. It was great to get the perspective from that retail side, and it was interesting looking at some of the tools like that stakeholder analysis map that you showed that have helped companies determine, hey, what are the priority issues that we should be talking about and engaging with depending on who the stakeholder is who we've identified. So as an organization, the Pet Industry Sustainability Coalition is also working on creating some of those informational documents that can help guide our member companies, and we look forward to engaging with our companies as well as other NGOs in this sector to bring that information forward.